In November 2011, Robbie Tesser was on a 25-day survival expedition in eastern Utah near Dirty Devil River. He chose a sandy area as the crossing point between the two banks. Within seconds of stepping onto the surface, the 25-year-old started to sink in the quicksand. He struggled to get out for a few hours. As others in the expedition tried to help him, Tesser was thigh-deep in mud and the river water rose close to his waist. The muddy substance that the man was trapped in contained heavy clay, which acted like concrete, keeping him in place. With temperatures close to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, one of the major concerns was that he'd go into hypothermic shock. Seeing as they couldn't free him, other hikers activated an emergency beacon and the local helicopter rescue crew arrived on site. The team used shovels and rafts to dislodge the man from the quicksand. The difficult task was successfully completed close to 13 hours after he'd first begun to sink. He was treated for cold exposure and rejoined the expedition 3 days later. Quicksand is a mixture of water and fine granular material in the form of clay, silt, or sand. Water saturates the granular material, causing it to become agitated and no longer capable of supporting weight. You can think of regular sand as a house of cards, in which the spaces between the cards is larger than the cards themselves. The spaces between the grains are filled out by water, and the sand turns from a solid into a viscous substance. The collapse can be generated by weight, vibration, or the upwards migration of water. While it may often appear solid, as it maintains a gel-like form, a sudden change in pressure can initiate liquefaction. Therefore, a person or an animal walking on quicksand will begin to sink. Getting out can be very difficult, particularly if you start struggling and moving erratically. Once the sand has liquefied, the resulting mixture traps the body in place. The forces required to loosen the mix and pull out of the quicksand fast are comparable to those necessary for lifting a small car. Number 7. 11-year-old boy in Wales. While visiting BREAN beach in Somerset, England, an unnamed 11-year-old boy got trapped in quicksand as his parents helplessly watched from a distance. He tried to go down to the sea to wash his hands when he sank into the sand, roughly 600 feet from the shore. The boy's parents alerted the Coast Guard and an emergency crew arrived at the scene. They used a hovercraft to reach him and mud lances to reduce the suction around him. He was taken out, placed on a stretcher and flown by hovercraft to an ambulance waiting on the shore. The boy wasn't hurt and reportedly seemed unfazed by the incident. According to his rescuers, the situation could have been much worse if the tide had been coming in. Number 6. Firefighters rescue woman. Much like the previous case, this incident also took place in Somerset on a beach in Weston-super-Mare. A woman had followed her niece 1,000 feet out when she became stuck in quicksand under a pier. She was unable to move as the mud had risen up to her thighs. A fire brigade arrived on site as dozens of onlookers followed the woman's plight from the pier. The rescuers used the hovercraft to get close and then planks of wood to create a safe pathway to the woman. She was freed after 20 minutes as onlookers applauded the firefighters' efforts. Quicksand can essentially form wherever water and grainy material are present. There are, however, certain areas where quicksand is more likely to occur. These include lake shorelines, beaches, riverbanks, marshes, or anywhere near underground springs. There are two main ways in which sand can become agitated enough for quicksand to form. One is the upwards flow of underground water, which opposes gravity and causes granules to become more buoyant. The other is earthquakes. The forceful vibration of the ground can cause shallow groundwater to liquefy sand and silt deposits. The surface thus loses strength, causing building or other objects in the affected area to sink or fall over. Number 5. Karen Parkinson. Karen Parkinson thought she was going to die as she and her friends got trapped in quicksand at Morecambe Bay in northwest England. At one point during their day out at the beach, Parkinson, her friend Gary Collier, and his 2 daughters heard a siren warning them that the tide was coming in. The group rushed towards the shore when one of the girls got stuck in quicksand. As Parkinson and the rest tried to help her, they got stuck as well. The girls were crying as they were sinking deeper and deeper. Collier and Parkinson knew that they had to get out before the tide claimed their lives. A bystander called the Coast Guard, and a 12-strong crew rushed to help the group. The rescuers told them to put out their arms and legs so that they could distribute their weight. Roughly 5 minutes before the bank flooded, the rescuers managed to dig them out of the sand. Number 4. Ryan Osman. Arizona man Ryan Osman went through 12 hours of horror as he was hiking with his girlfriend, Jessica McNeil, in Utah's Zion National Park. At one point during their trip, McNeil tripped and got stuck in quicksand. Osman helped his girlfriend free herself, only to get his right leg trapped inside the mixture of sand and water. As hard as he tried, the man couldn't dislodge his limb from the quicksand. He described it as standing in a large puddle of concrete that instantly became dry. McNeil made the hard decision of leaving her boyfriend behind in order to find help. Neither of them was sure if they'd ever see each other again. Osman was trapped in cold water and believed that he'd ultimately lose his leg. It was February, and as he waited, the man had to endure snowstorms. McNeil had to hike for 3 hours to find service on her cell phone and call for help. A helicopter arrived in the area and hovered above as a rescuer came down on more than 100 feet of cable. The man scraped the sand away so that Osman could free his leg after spending close to 12 hours in quicksand. Afterwards, the couple and rescuers had to spend the night in the park as they were caught in the middle of a winter storm. The couple was treated for hypothermia, while Osman also suffered from exposure and extremity injuries. He was, however, expected to make a full recovery. It's unlikely you drown in quicksand due to the difference in density between the viscous mixture and the human body. Quicksand has a density of about 125 pounds per cubic foot, while the average human is nearly half as dense. You can float on quicksand more easily than on water. To actually drown in quicksand, with it gradually invading your airways, you'd have to fall in face first and then be unable to pull your head out. It's a gruesome perspective, but such occurrences are rare. The most likely scenario is that one or both of your legs will become trapped inside. Struggling and agitated movement will only make you sink faster. However, living things sink to the level that their weight displaces an equal weight of quicksand due to buoyancy. What this means is that you'll only sink about waist deep. The main problem is that you can become trapped and unable to move for hours and even days on end. Depending on where you are, this can be fatal in a number of ways. Predators stalking the area might attack you, or you could simply starve to death. You could also die from exposure to extreme weather. In cold environments, you might go into hypothermic shock, and in extreme heat, you could die from dehydration. If you get trapped close to a shoreline, tides are the number one concern, as they might cause you to drown. Number 3. Nicola Raybone. In the summer of 2012, Nicola Raybone was on the Caribbean island of Antigua to celebrate her father's wedding. The 33-year-old mother of 2 had drinks with some friends at the Jolly Beach Resort and then went on the beach to watch the sunset. The rest of the wedding party went to dinner, and Raybone was to join them later as she walked towards the sea near the 5-star resort. The woman became trapped in the sinking sands. It soon got dark and the waves started coming in. She'd left her phone in the bar area, so she couldn't call for help. She started shouting, but no one could see her on the beach, which had become pitch black. Despite desperate search efforts from her friends, family, and the hotel staff, the woman wasn't found. The tide that night was reportedly rough and high. Raybone's lifeless body was discovered on the shoreline the next day. Today's video was requested by King Zuzu 90. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comment section below. There are 5 steps to take towards avoiding quicksand altogether. Be on the lookout for sand that has ripples in the texture. You should be able to see water seeping up from below. Carry a walking stick and test the surface prior to stepping on it. If you do find yourself trapped inside, don't panic. Surviving quicksand is a matter of remaining calm and understanding that it's very unlikely it will swallow you whole. Take deep breaths to increase your buoyancy and avoid frantic movement. Your first instinct will most likely be to pull out by sheer force, but you should try to resist it. The mixture you're in is like fast-drying wet concrete. You're basically working against a vacuum left behind by movement, so it's very important not to panic and flail your limbs. Movement should be slow and with a clear purpose, so that you reduce viscosity and avoid sinking further. Drop your backpack and whatever you're carrying. It might sound counterintuitive, but the best thing you can do is to lie on your back and spread your weight. This allows your legs to float back to the surface. If you can find an anchoring point in the environment, grab on and slowly drag yourself towards it. If you can't find an anchor, move your arms in a swimming motion to propel yourself backwards. Make sure to keep your body spread out, since direct pressure may cause you to sink back in. The objective is to inch yourself towards solid ground, then roll onto it. It may require some time and effort before you're free, and battling quicksand can be exhausting. Take breaks as often as you need to, and keep your composure. Today's featured fan shoutout is Instagram follower PooBear. To appear in our next video, send us your pic, rocking the latest merch from theywillkillyou.com, and send it in to us on Instagram today. Number 2. Ross Parker. 24-year-old Ross Parker lost his life as he heroically attempted to rescue his mother from quicksand. The two of them had been walking alongside a beach in Dorset, England. They tried to cross a small channel in an area where low tide signs were put up. Parker's mother Sam got stuck in quicksand after a wave had hit the back of her legs. Parker then held her down and tried to keep her from getting washed out to sea as waves came crashing down on them. He tried so hard to keep her from being taken by the tide that he left bruises on her arms. Sam would later recall telling her son that she believed she was going to die. Parker told her that wouldn't happen and started shouting for help. Then a wave struck them, throwing Sam towards the beach and taking her son out to sea. A large rescue operation was mounted, involving the Coast Guards and helicopters, but they were unable to rescue him. Number 1. Christine Smith. Christine Smith would have likely become another quicksand victim, if not for her loyal German pointer, Matilda. Smith had taken her pet for a walk on the beach when she stepped in quicksand and started to sink. She described how a mixture of sand and water had gotten in her boots, after which it became completely solid. Smith started to panic. As soon as she tried to take one leg out, the other sank further in. Then Matilda came to her and, according to Smith, sensed she was in trouble. The dog remained completely still next to her owner, providing a vital anchor for the woman to pull herself out. She grabbed onto Matilda's back and slowly inched herself out. Smith said that the dog stood like a rock beside her. Once she managed to free herself, the woman crawled on her knees to solid ground. Thanks for watching. Alongside which celebrity would you choose to get stuck in quicksand? Let us know in the comments section below.